Hello guys, so today we're going to look into another interesting feature of Next.js, and that is showing blurry images as a loader for the next image component. So for example, if we go to the images section here and click load more, you can see that there is a blurry version of the image being displayed first before the main image. And that blurry image resembles the main colors of the image. So how do we implement something like this? So this is the code that you're going to be working with. We're just displaying an array of images next to each other. And I've used bright colored images so that we can see the effect of this feature clearly. So for displaying the images, we are using the next image component. And the good thing is the next image component has built-in support for this feature. So to display a blurry image while the image is loading in the background, we add two props to the image component. So one of them is the placeholder blur property, and the next prop is the blur data URL property. So we don't have this property yet. So our task for this video is to implement a feature that adds this property. So the blur data URL property is a string representation of an image. So these will be used as the src property while the image is loading. So to implement this feature, we're going to use the sharp npm library. So sharp is a utility for resizing and converting images very fast. So why do we need this library? Well, we need to generate a blurry version of our images. To do this, we need to resize the image to a smaller size. Naturally, when you scale down an image, the details will no longer be easily visible. So when we display the smaller image at the original size, it will look blurry. That's the basic idea of what we want to do, and Sharp is perfect for this sort of stuff. So first of all, we need to install the Sharp library. So ban Sharp. So with that done, let's get to the code. So Sharp is a huge library, and conversion of images may be memory intensive depending on the size of the image. So we want to do this stuff on the server so it doesn't slow down our browser. So with server components, we can add an async function called getImages that will do the conversion for us and then return the images. So we can call this function in our component by just awaiting it and then looping through the images. So let's implement this getImages function. So we need to add another prop to these images called base64 image. So this is what we'll be generating. So inside here, we can add a variable called with base64 that should go through the images and then add the base64 image prop. So inside this function, we should call our function that blurs the image. So let's call it await get blurred image, and then we pass the image.src, and then we should return the image with that blurred image as the value of the base64 image. So the get blurred image function will be the one that will be doing the magic. So let's implement this. So async function get blurred image with the src as a prop. So let's import the Sharp library because you're going to use it for the next part. So to pass this image to Sharp, we need to download it first and convert it into a format that Sharp accepts. So if you initialize Sharp, you can see that it accepts a buffer containing JPEG, PNG, WebP images. So we need to pass the image as a buffer to this Sharp constructor. So at the top of this, we can download the image by calling fetch on it. So this just fetches the image and then convert it into an array buffer via response.arrayBuffer and then pass the buffer to Sharp. So now we have a Sharp object with our image. So remember that we said we need to resize this image to a smaller version of the image to be able to generate a blurry version of it. So on the next line, we can say resized image buffer is equals to await image.resize. So we can resize it to say 32 pixels. That's a fairly small image that won't blur it too much. And then another prop we can pass to this is the fit inside prop. So the fit prop will resize the image while maintaining its aspect ratio. And then after resizing, we can convert it back into an image. So for example, we can convert it back into a JPEG, which will format the output image to a JPEG, and then finally convert it back to a buffer. So with this, we can convert the image into base64 by calling the toString method of our resized image buffer and passing in the base64 prop. So this is now a string that we can just embed into an image element. But for the image element to be able to recognize this as an image, we need to prepend some information at the beginning of this string. So we need to return that string with the image format metadata and the string type metadata. So before we improve any of this further, let's return it to see how it will work. So instead of returning the images, we should return promise.all images. So with base64 is an array of promises. So we're just making sure that we execute all of the promises, which will make sure that this property is added to them. So let's save our file and then see the effects in our browser. So to be able to get access to the dependencies that we have just installed, we need to shut down our server and then start it again so that we can get rid of this error. So let's refresh. So let's slow down the requests a bit so that we can be able to see the blurred image. So we disable the cache and then we set to fast 3G. So this is a slower internet than the internet you're using. So let's refresh the page so you can see the blurred image showing before the main image. So the blurred image is just the original image but blurred, and we can tweak it a little further to make it a little more blurry than it is. So when converting to JPEG here, we can add an option to configure the quality of the image that is being returned. So for example, if we set the quality to 40%, the image will be more blurry than it is right now. So let's save and then refresh the page. So you can see it's a bit more blurry than it was before. So if we pass this way down, let's say something like 5% and then refresh, so the image will be extremely blurry. So you can control the amount of blurriness you want using the quality prop of the JPEG function. So that should be all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today. See you next time.